Good morning, all. Good morning, Miss T. Good morning, all my dear friends in CCU class. This is the movie that I chose to be the final project of cross-cultural understanding subjects. The title of the movie or the film that I chose to be the final project of the subject of cross-cultural understanding is BOUDICA, the Queen of War. We'll come to the next slide. As I have explained before, when we have the last meeting with Miss Isti, I said or I explained that Roman Empire under Caesar Augustus Nero extends over most of Europe. Here it means that at the year of 60, Roman Empire colonized all parts of Europe continent, and then they came to Great Britain to colonize all people in Great Britain. And there they cultivate, they bring their culture to the place or the country that were being colonized by them. Them here is the Roman people. Here's the picture how this man, the Roman people, he lived in Britain, especially in one province in Great Britain named Icenic. In this picture, when you watch this movie, and at the time, Bodica and her daughters, two daughters of Bodica and her servant, they were going to buy some clothes for Bodica. And then there, the servant of Bodica told to Bodica that we had not to buy the clothes from Roman people because they took all things from us. And why didn't we buy from our men or our people? Because they oppressed us. And then here this man said that your slave are saying bad words or look down or on our emperor. And then here we will look together how the response from Bodica. Bodica said that she is my servant, not my slave. We can see clearly that the difference between the culture of Roman and Britain. In Roman, they called people who work for them as slave, but in the culture of Britain, especially the Icenic province, they call people, whether man or a woman who work for them, they call as a servant. Here we can see how the Roman people, they treat the people who work for them as slave. We all notice that a slave has no right to choose their life freely, but the servant, they can choose to live their life freely because they're a servant, not a slave. The difference between slave and servant is clearly understood by us. So Roman Empire, they didn't pay any respect, any appreciation to people who work for them, but Vice versa, for Britain people, they respect, they show appreciation to men and women who work for them. That's the first tense I use, culture. Here, this is, I use the term of myth, because when you talk about myth, it is about the supernatural being or about the ancestor. Why I use this term to describe this kind of picture? Because you can see here there was a sword, and it was given to Boudica by her husband. And her husband, the Boudica's husband, explained to her that this sword was shaped or was forged by the witch. It means that people use witch, the ancestor of Boudica used witch to forge this sword to be a strong, to be a powerful sword to conquer their enemy. Here also the same explanation that the husband of Boudica gave this sword to Boudica because he felt that he wasn't worth to possess this sword, because this sword is belonged to the ancestor of Boudica. So as the grandchild, Boudica had the right to possess, to have this sword. And then her husband gave it to Boudica to have it as her own things. And then the next, I use the term ethnocentrism. We already know the explanation, the meaning of ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is how people use their own perspective to evaluate other cultures, or they underestimate or look down on others' culture. This man named Catus Decianus. In this event, when the husband of Boudica was died in war, the people of Icelandic province wanted to enthrone Boudica to be the queen of the Icelandic province, to change the position of her husband. And then in the eyes, in the point of view of Roman Empire, women are not qualified, are not worth to take any position in the government. You can see the next picture. And he continued to say that as a woman, a Roman did not admit you to be a queen. So for Roman people, woman has no right to be a queen. To be a queen. For them, just for men that can be governed or to rule their country. Then we'll have the same picture, and Catus Decianus said that it is a humiliation for the emperor. And again, I told you, if you watch this movie, after this event, Boudica was being whipped. You know, whipped, it means that be punished by the way of Roman Empire. She is being whipped by the soldier of Catus Decianus. After the explanation about ethnocentrism, how Roman Empire looked down the cultures of Britain, especially the Ascenic province. And then we come to the folklore. Folklore means a traditional beliefs of some people or certain place. Here I just took the picture that related with the terms of folklore. Before it, I will explain to all of you that before it, Boudica and this man that sit beside her, they lead their people against Catus Decianus, and they killed all soldiers, all troops that led by Catus Decianus, and then Boudica cut off or beheaded Catus Decianus' his head, and then they came to their a second place, and then they bring the school of the cats, and then they said that if Boudica drink from the school of Catus Decianus, her victory will be completed. So that is their what they beliefs. But if they already had war against their enemy, and if they drink from the school of their enemy, it means the leader of their enemy, their victory will be completed. Then we'll come to the next slide. Here I can also say that it's also still has relation with myth, because it is something that has power, but it's more beyond the capacity or the power of human being, or we call supernatural. And here, when Bodhika just call, give me the sword, and then the sword just flies and go directly to the hand of Bodhika. So it is the myth that something that unbelievable, something that very supernatural, that the power of man cannot reach it. So here is the picture. And this is after Bodhika said that bring me or give me the sword, and then the sword just fly directly to the hand of Bodhika. And now Bodhika is holding the sword. This is something that supernatural, very supernatural. And the men who sit there, all of them were amazed by the words of Bodhika, and how they saw the sword can move or obey the words of Bodhika, and what went directly to the hand of Bodhika. I can say that it's a myth, something that beyond the power of human being. Just like I said before, that Bodhika said, give my sword, and then the sword just fly directly to Bodhika's hand. This also when Bodhika wanted to kill Catus Decianus, he just said, give me the sword, and then the sword flies to her, and then she used this sword to cut off, to beheaded the head of Catus Decianus. So it is a myth for them, something that's supernatural, something that beyond the power of human being. Here we can see how Catus Decianus being surprised by this movement of this sword, and he said, "What kind of witch is this?" And then at the time when he said this word, Spontaneously, Boudica used this sword to cut off, to beheaded his head, and he died. This man also, where we can see the translation in Indonesian, he said, I have never seen something like this. It's because when Boudica was training, use this sword, he was laughing at Boudica. He said, how can you use this sword to defeat, to kill your enemy? This is it's not a suitable. This is not a strong sword. So he took the sword from Bodica's hands, and then he bent this sword. After that, but he threw away the sword into the river, and then Bodica ran fast to, and then he jumped to the river and what swim off and take back or took back the sword, and then when Bodica brought back the sword, there's something that incredible is the sword already what become in a normal state. It means that it is bent, but it's already straight, like a form before, like a shape before. So that's why this man said that I've never been seen something like this. So it is belong to myth. How we already bend or break the sword sometimes, but suddenly the sword, what he can fix itself. So it's something that very incredible for this man. Well, that's all my explanation and the terms that I used to describe this movie and the slides that I already showed. Mm, Again, the movie is entitled Boudica, the Queen of War. And here, this is how Boudica wanted to free the people from the colonization of Roman Empire. But the last thing I want to say that the last movie, Boudica and her people were killed by Roman troops, by Roman soldiers. So it is a very dramatic tragedy movie to watch. But the name of Boudica still being remembered by all people in Britain, especially in the Icenic province. That's all my explanation about the movie that I choose as my final project in cross-cultural understanding subjects. Good morning and thank you.